The teams raced on in Colombia this week on The Amazing Race, so let's get into it. Okay, so they start out the episode kind of weird. You and I were both a little bit confused by this, but it was almost like they were in the middle of a challenge, but they weren't. Instead, the teams were paragliding off of a mountain here in Colombia where they're racing this week. And it was kind of exciting, but like also kind of not relevant either, so it was a little bit confusing.
Yeah, it felt like, oh, we're halfway through this. Maybe we should throw this in the episode.
Yeah, it was really straight. There was like really no point to it because basically once they were done paragliding, then the duos got up and kind of got the first clue to figure out, get the legs started. So I was like, it was just very random, and the way it was edited made it seem like it wasn't supposed to be there.
Yeah, you almost seemed like you jumped in the middle of an episode on accident. And I was like, did we miss something?
Yeah, so it was strange. So paragliding seems really fun, but also it just seemed very random in the episode. So then we move into the first challenge of the episode, so the detour. It's Dance Vibe or Wall Scribe. Here's the thing. You and I said this, and I also saw this on Twitter. This has got to be one of the most unbalanced detours I've seen in a very long time. So with Dance Vibe, you had, the teams were kind of learning, I don't know what kind of dance it was.
It was basically break dancing.
Yeah, from like these, Colombian dancers. But you had to learn the dance and you had to like perform it to perfection. And that's what I thought was really difficult, given that most people are not dancers in everyday life.
Just learning the steps itself is going to take you a good chunk of time. And then if you keep messing up, you have to have that 30 seconds of being synced up with the other dancers. You might take a while.
Yeah, I thought it was really weird, honestly, and challenging, and it was also interesting because it seemed like the majority of the teams selected that.
Yeah.
On the other side of this, we have Wall Scribe, which was seemingly a lot easier. So this was almost like different scribes or different kind of clues along the wall of this like kind of art area, if you will, and you were trying to figure out some kind of like phrasing from the clues.
Yeah. And the mother-son team got there like
Killed
that.
it. Yeah.
But then the firefighters, I don't know what they were thinking, but they were like the farthest off from anything. I don't think they've ever done a puzzle like that before or something, because they ended up switching to dance after trying for a while.
Which was also funny because I'm like, if anything, I would have thought that someone would have switched from the dance to the art, but no one did that either. So I will say all the teams finished the dancing, but I just thought it was a weird choice. I don't know. So then we move into the roadblock of this episode, which is who's feeling artsy.
What's funny is a lot of people are like, oh, I'm artsy, I like to draw, I like to paint, and then they get to it and it's like, oh no, this is memorization.
Yeah, it's a memorization of all these different statues of kind of a famous kind of like Colombian artist.
Yeah, there were 23 and they had 12 that they had to go find. And a lot of them just, like they have the map, and then the map has the museum and like a church, and it shows, you have to try to get your positioning, and a lot of them just could not figure out their positioning. Yeah. And I think they made it harder than what it would have been. Because I mean, like, the church itself was checkered, and it was checkered on the
little
board,
map, the little key.
Yeah, and I don't know.
Which was interesting because with those two buildings, it's like you almost had like kind of a base to work off of. So it was interesting that so many teams struggled. Yeah. And it's funny because some teams showed up and figured it out like that. So like the positionings in this episode were completely different. Right. In retrospect from the former episode.
Because the mother-son jumped from the back of the pack third.
Yeah,
and then I thought
Amber and Vinny, who have kind of been floating through the middle, moved up to second.
Second.
And then Ricky and Caesar got their first place, right?
Yeah, because they did second, now they're first.
Yeah, so just all kinds of different placements here, which was really just kind of strange. So let's get into that. So the pit stop, like we said, first was Ricky and Caesar, which I was excited for them. I was kind of annoyed because Amber and Vinny, I feel like, would have gotten it if they either one, knew the directions a little bit more, and two, wouldn't have helped the mother-son, but hopefully that helps them later on in the show.
Also, Amber and Vinny were fighting a bit throughout the episode,
Yeah, there's a little bit of that like very kind of stereotypical like fight among the romantic couples that we see on The Amazing Race, and so I'm like, what's going on there? I don't know if they're gonna last just because their communication is not very good. Yeah. They get very irritable with each other very quickly.
Very quickly.
So that was interesting. And then last to the pit stop, eliminated on this episode, was my winner pick for the season, Michelle and Sean, the Double Dutch team. I was so sad about this.
Going into the season, I thought they'd be a strong team.
Yeah.
But surprisingly, they were kind of stuck at the back the whole time.
I think what it was really and truly for me is that they had a like fun backstory. Yeah. Like a lot of people, it's either like, we come on here because we're relationally tied in some way, or like we went through some very traumatic experience, and they're like, no, we're married, we love each other, and we teach Double Dutch. And that was like so fun and lighthearted, and they were so promising in that premiere. Yeah. And then they just fell down to the bottom of the pack, and they just could never get their way back
Well,
up.
And even when they got to the pit stop, they were still positive. And then they taught Phil how to double dutch.
Yes!
Well, okay, Phil seemed to have known how to double dutch. He was like on it.
Yeah, I'm curious. I'll be talking to the team and I'm curious to see what they say about that because I'm like, that's interesting.
I mean, maybe Phil did double Dutch competitions back in the day. We don't know.
Maybe that's his secret talent.
Right.
Who knows? Yeah. But this season really, I mean, it truly is anyone's game. We had Rod and Letitia that were kind of, the first place, the first episodes, and then Ricky and Cesar taking over. So now I'm like, what's going to happen? Maybe one of them is going to go back to first again, or we'll see another team come to the top because we're definitely seeing, like I said, some of those placements kind of scattered right now. So it's going to be interesting.
It'll be very interesting.
Yeah, because also down at the bottom was the sisters or cousins? Cousins.
Yeah.
And they kind of in middle of the pack too. So like I said, it really it just takes that one challenge to totally throw you off your steam you've been rolling on the whole season and you're out. So you just have no idea what's gonna happen.
Right. And the competitions themselves, you might have a strong skill set for it or not. So it just depends on that too.
Yeah, so the season really is good. I still really love this cast. I've been saying that the whole season. It's strong, they're sneaky, they're kind of competitive, but they're also really fun and lighthearted in a lot of ways too.
Absolutely.
So as always, The Amazing Race, brand new episode Wednesday on CBS and streaming on Paramount Plus. Tune in.